Okay. Hello. Welcome everybody to the call here live. We've got a few of us here live today, and hopefully, actually there's a couple in the waiting room. Nudge is coming on in. So from next week, I'll disenable the waiting room as well, but it'll be password. All right. Okay, so welcome to the call today at Home Education, Inspiring Learning and Earning. Everything home education that you want to ask about, and we'll connect you with the people, the current home educators that can help you if we can't support you in the group ourselves, or alternatively, we really want you to come up with your answers for your circumstances as well. So that's the uniqueness with Changemaker teams and looking after you all as families, or supporting you with ease and joy in your family, is that we can ask you the direct questions and indirect questions, and and actually support you through your process as well. And we've got various avenues to help you do that. But today's call, Monday's call, we will take a deep dive on a subject that you've been asking questions about, and a lot of you have been asking the questions on this site and other sites on how do you earn some income when you're home educating, and how do I communicate with my partner about that income earning, and all of these different questions. And I've got a panel here today. Cara from New South Wales, she's got some that she's been studying as well as earning in a job as well, and looking at pivoting some of that with the changes that are happening. And Deb, wow, I've got to catch up on what you're doing lately as well, but definitely always one to, like Cara, think outside the box on what you can do to support your family as well. So many other mums that are listening to this recording or on live here have got avenues that they are learning and teaching their kids and earning at the same time. So that's currently happening. You might want more advice. You might hear where you can help others as well. So feel free to put things in the chat. So I'm curious, because I did see a comment on one site where somebody asked, what are you mums doing to earn an income? And there was a flurry of amazing and unique things that people were doing. And there was the comment to watch out. This is when all the multi-level marketing things come out. Be careful asking that question. That may be also why people aren't coming to this call live. We've got reduced number than last week, but also it's an hour earlier, so it may not suit families as well. And we're eager to find out if this is a good time. If you wanted to come live, is this actually a good time for you? So yeah, would love to know that as well. So there are obviously homeschool mums that do multi-level marketing in various ways, but it really comes from that place of passion. So I don't think we've got anyone here talking about that today, but that might be an option for the future, and we absolutely welcome that, because it's definitely about our families as well. So Deb, actually, I'll start with you. What is your update? What are you doing, and what recommendation would you give to your family? And obviously, when you're talking, your whole, almost the credibility, what you've got and what you can bring will come out in your conversation when you tell us about your family, what you want to share about that as well. So I'll mute.
Sure. I suppose I'm only just new to needing to earn while I'm learning and alongside my kids, because I've been a stay-at-home mum and married for 25 years and was very well looked after financially until that all disappeared. And now I'm on my own and had to reimagine my future and be the sole financial provider for my 6 kids and myself. So that led me down a pathway of study. I finished my legal diploma and was looking at starting my own business. In the meantime, still need some money. I'm working in a little boutique which they're amazing to match my availability with my kids. So I was very upfront and said the hours that I could work and couldn't work. They've respected that. And so that brings in immediate cash, which helps with paying the bills. But also I suppose the easiest job that I have is I looked for what I was passionate about and what I could do with my kids. So I was volunteering at a homeschool dance school. My kids attend there. Heidi's children were attending there as well. It's a big community dance school. Here in Brisbane, we have over 100 homeschool kids that attend. And that wasn't money per se. It was because of the hours that I would put in and work. My children received free tuition. So that meant that even though I didn't have an income, they were still able to participate and do activities that kids want to do. That has turned into a job now. I'm officially on the payroll. Yeah. After 3 years of volunteering and just giving many hours, where now the business is in a position to actually employ me. So now that's another job that I do as well, which is the easiest one because I'm still with my kids for 6 hours on that Tuesday. And then I do have work to do outside of that, but I can do that at night when the kids are, not needing my attention. I don't know if that brings up any questions. I touched on it that, yeah, I do have 6 kids. They're 8 to 17. I'm just now looking at starting my own business. The lockdown really made it very clear to me that I can't rely on my retail job. It brings me joy. I love it. I sell beautiful things. I talk to beautiful ladies. It's a few hours where I get to dress up and feel pretty and have adult interaction, which I didn't realize how much it would fill me. I love it. But I lost a lot of money in the last lockdown and realized that, if this sort of life continues, I need something that the government is not going to control when I can earn. And my conveyancing business is something I can run from home. I don't have to ever worry about lockdown. So just started that process literally this weekend. So that will be a new venture.
Great, Deb. We'll definitely come back to you. That's so good because there was so much in that is definitely inspiring and helpful for many of our listeners and many in the community to be still and to find out, okay, this is what's happening right now, going back to your divorce, and what can I do to be with my children, deal with the situation and still move forward. And what you've done by taking the situation, oh, wow, I need to know certain legal language. So let's dive into that. Checking in on myself. Actually, I don't mind this. This is actually pretty cool. And it's amazing how the world works. And if we're aware and we walk where our feet are and we can hear, okay, this is not a terrible thing, really. Yes, it's unfortunate and there's change, but where's this heading? So you took stock, took your babes in, going, this is what we're doing. I'm going to work some late nights. And I remember you back at that time. Yeah, it was challenging, and you've got this amazing tribe and the connection between the children that you've worked on for years that helped get you through as well. And so then you went to study, got advice when you needed to get advice, had your support team as well of other mums helping you, support you through the process, and other friends. And then you studied, made contacts. But you didn't plan this. You didn't actually plan when that divorce was happening that I'm going to open up a conveyancing business one day.
No, my goodness, that's my biggest thing, I suppose I would share to mirror what you said, is to be really present and just take on every moment that comes to you. I just have always run with that life is so precious. There's no point in burying my head or feeling sorry for myself. Okay, this is what it's given me. What can I turn that into? And each step of the way, it was this ball that was rolling and getting bigger, and I could just see opportunities happening. And I just had to be brave enough to just go with it and give it a go. And this is where even my journey with homeschooling began. A lot of people of saying in like 10 years time, but what if when they want to go to high school, and what if this? Well, here I am with a child about to graduate grade 12, never having stepped foot in a school, a regular school. I don't worry about those big, if you just take each little step, all of a sudden you're down the path.
Deb, that's a great segue to my next question is, you doing this, how has that impacted on your older crew now to start looking at a job? So because they've seen you just go from one step in front of the other and step in front of the other, when they're about to look at other education maybe, or their careers, and in this climate, what if they had their heart set on working in a boutique, So how are they needing to pivot at this time and still, bring them joy and fulfillment in their work that they've done for the last 12 years, 13 years since birth?
So true. So true. We have a lot of conversations around that. And I suppose that's what I love about homeschooling and my family, the way that I've brought us together and raised the kids, is for me to be that role model and for me to never say that I've got all the answers. And they've seen me go with that it's definitely taken this stress and the pressure away from particularly my older seniors, grade 12, grade 10, for them to see me having been a stay-at-home mum, and all of a sudden, mid-40s, here I am studying and reinventing myself. And so that is backed up. I've always said to them, anything is possible, but all of a sudden they're actually seeing me live that. And it lets them see that they don't have to make the decision. They don't have to be everything at the age of 17, 18. They can explore different pathways, and it may not be until they're in their 30s or 40s where some opportunity comes along, or it may be one opportunity now, but that could look very different in 10, 15 years time. And I think this current climate is it is definitely gives us I think we really need to be a lot more creative and thinking outside the box, and homeschoolers do that so well. Think outside the box. And I can't say that they've all come up with their different ways yet. My 17-year-old daughter is studying dance. She's already teaching as a dance teacher. We've had to do that online. So she's getting those skills already of how I can teach dance online. It would be tragic if that was how our arts world went. But really just trying to think outside the box.
Yeah, that's really, really wonderful that you've been able to demonstrate that and take it through. Well, we'll come back to you. Kara, you've got a young lad around 17 as well, but do you want to dive in with how things are impacting on him, or go back first to what you're doing to earn an income whilst you're homeschooling, and then how that relates to, how do you build that in with your family?
So, two children. So one, my daughter is 17, almost 17. I just got corrected. Anyway, 17 later this year. And yeah, 13 is my son. So basically, I've worked in a health field for 20 years. And then I had been to uni 2011 roughly, did a degree in that sort of same field. And then I've been back at uni when we've now been home educating, because we didn't start off home educating. Our children were in regular school. And then the decision to go back and study while I was homeschooling there was quite a few questions of how's this going to work, and especially because there was placement and things like that as well, where I needed to be out on certain days. So sometimes like my husband's employer was really great, and that either he would have a few days off when I needed to go and do things, or once things got a little bit busy where my husband was working, because the business is actually a family-owned business, his boss actually said to him, just bring the kids in. He works in a trucking industry, one portion of it, and so it was really great then to have one, because there was only one seat, so one of our kids would go into the office for the morning, and then the other would go in the truck for the morning, and then they would switch over halfway through. And so they were able to see, okay, things like, how does a query work? How do you talk on the CB radio? What's appropriate language, not being respectful, work health and safety sort of laws, is it mildly, I would say, because they weren't allowed to get out of the truck at any premise they were at, but just seeing the different requirements that had to happen for that. So that was sort of one aspect. That was when they were a little bit younger, probably about sort of 4 years ago, roughly. As they were getting older, and just before we went into lockdown, they would actually come to university with me. And what they would do is, the university library that was there was really well set up. So basically they could just go into one section where it was really comfy. They had comfy couches, they could sit there, they had all the PowerPoints that they needed and all those types of things. There was a cafe, there was the bathroom in there as well, and they also had a iPad that they could share during that time. So they took their bookwork there. They had to send photos to me when I had my lecture on for the first hour in the morning, and once they had done that lecture, they were allowed to spend their $10 each in the cafe. They also had other food with them that they could eat during the day, but this was, you know, going up practicing the money handling skills because it was cash, communicating, making sure that you're, you know, asking the right questions, getting the right communication, that sort of thing. So yeah, that was sort of one aspect. So that was happening like that until beginning of last year with lockdown. So then they had to come home. So then they were at home, but they had that older age bracket where they could be at home and be safe at home. So so then, yeah, I would go off and do my placement days and my husband would go to work. But we actually have a really amazing neighbour as well who would check in on our kids as well, and they both had each other's phone numbers, and so they would do check-ins over the phone, or they would go next door and play board games and all that sort of thing. So yeah, that was sort of how we've managed to make it work. So but now with the current climate, whether I'm going to actually be able to use my degree is another aspect, because there will probably be certain requirements that need to be met for me to do that, and I don't feel comfortable with those requirements. Takes out a lot of choice, and so now I'm looking at if I still can continue in that area, that'll be great. But can I use those skills of what I have learned through university, doing things like human bioscience, academic writing, to then teach it instead online as an online platform? So yeah, that's sort of where we're at.
Terrific. Thank you, Cara. The main thing that came up for me when I was listening to that is the conversations that you've had to have, or you chose to have as a family, as, you know, with employers, with your, you know, yourself, you know, that whole thing when the kids are doing that, are they safe? Are they doing that? They're going with dad. Is he going to do it as good as I'm? There's all this conversation you probably had and needed to settle in within yourself, and then the conversation with the kids as well. So that communication is key. Would you say that there was a common denominator in all that conversation, or did the conversations ever get tricky, the communication? You know, that's some advice you can give us around, for us to have as mums, for example, where I'm heading there is to have a way of earning an income, to have, you know, Deb mentioned the word be brave, you know, or to make certain decisions and conversations about stepping out again. To do something different. Now you're pivoting, for example. So you might be having all different conversations. You've got these great skills. Are you going to get a chance to use them? What are they anyway? I think Adele, one of our moderators, put up a post the other day in Home Education Inspired Learning and Earning about, well, what are your skills? You know, what are the skills you've got? Let's just check in. Usually we only get a chance to do that when you fill in your resume or your CV. So what are the skills that you've got as mum and boy? You know, you can just, you know, skills of a mother, how you can put that to a workplace. But now the skills that you've gone to university, you've worked in the health industry, what does that teach you about, you know, all ages of people in conversations? How can you use those skills differently, let alone the anatomy of every, you know, the body and the parts that you've learnt about? And now your love for teaching, obviously that's a given because you're a homeschool mum. Or is it, you know, new mums coming through? Do you think you'll even love teaching your kids? How are you going to deal with earning an income and loving teaching your kids and helping them learn? You know, we might pivot to Julie. I'll come back to you. Actually, no, I've asked you a question there and I didn't let you finish, but I'll welcome Julie in a minute. Thank you, Julie, for being here. And she's been out working, so she's a bit late. So we'll welcome Julie in a minute. Cara, the communication.
Okay, so for us, it was actually really quite easy, the communication. My husband just said to his workplace that because he was on casual at that point, he's now on permanent full-time, and so he just said, oh look, I'm going to have, I can't even remember, but probably like every Friday off for the next 3 months or whatever it was. And his boss just turned, like, they had a discussion about, oh, how come or whatever, and he's like, oh, I've got the kids and Cara's studying and she needs to be out, blah blah blah. And because it's a family-owned business, it started with the family about 50 years ago, it stayed within the family. It hasn't sort of been on-sold to anybody. Basically the sons are running it now. And so they spent their childhood going to work with dad. So for them, it was a given that that's what you do. Well, okay, you just bring your kids in here. They had updated their office as well, which meant the kids got to sit in this amazing large room with this big table, and they could just spread out and have this great space.
Stop you there. So the communication was easy for you. And were there any any tricky parts that you knew? I guess the change in legislation from when those kids were small to now, the health and safety legislation. And we also are key to find out, from when you're finishing your study, was there an opportunity to really earn some money along the way as well, or you're still lining up for that? Or
So I did work a few days as well per week. I did a lot of temping work with my area of health. So my neighbour would actually look after our kids, which was great. At those points where I was out sort of 2 days a week and my husband was working, and it meant that the kids would have to be getting up quite a few days at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's actually possible. But yeah, I think out of the trickiest communication and that sort of thing, the only angst I think that I found in the whole thing was just whether the university, if they found out that I was having the kids there, would they class them as being unsupervised? Whereas I knew my kids and they stayed in that particular area and there's lots of people around. We went through safety procedures and different things like that. Like there was no risk, you know, but that would have been the only angst that we had in the process.
So did what the kids were going through and getting up early and doing their study there, could you integrate that into showing a certain part of their education, what they've learned in life skills? And as you said, they've learned more about the quarry, but did they write any of that up? Could you use that, or was it more life skills in the conversations with the family and they just did other curriculum work there? Like did they use any of that from an unschooling type perspective?
Yeah, more unschooling. They haven't sort of written any of it up as such, but a lot of communication I think has been a really big benefit there too, because like my daughter had been out on the truck with my husband and going to different quarries or places or that sort of thing. And so as soon as he comes home now, oh, where did you go today, Dad? What did you do? And so, and how's this person at work? And there was somebody at work who was, I would say, quite difficult, a little bit of a troublemaker at one point. And so listening to the stories of, oh, what did this person do for the day and that sort of thing, and learning those skills of this person is so frustrating to so many people at the workplace, but how people monitor themselves, monitor their actions, their words, how they still treat them with respect, even though they don't like them as a person. A lot of those types of things, plus also, you know, your money handling, that sort of aspect of things as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much. I just want to tag. Deb, did that bring up anything for you with the conversations that you've had to have with your kids? And in your conversations, what I want you to focus on is the days that you actually did not feel like homeschooling and teaching, and how did that go? So you weren't earning, or you preferred to earn and get out there and do that, and you didn't feel like actually doing the learning with them. So you can answer that in a couple of different ways, because you'll have.
Yeah, I suppose that was a little confronting to me, because I have only ever wanted to be a mum. I've never had a desire to have a career, and I've been fortunate for the majority of my motherhood to be able to just purely concentrate on the children and be at home. So it was confronting then when I received this position, because it really was offered to me out of the blue, and I just think that's how the world works. And I was at a position where I could embrace that role, that all of a sudden I loved that new life so much. And it was, what am I now? 4 months into working externally. So have been working for 3 years in a capacity at the dance school, but I didn't class that as work, not purely because I was not being financially paid, but because I was with my kids still. So I was just doing what I love. We were just doing an activity, and I just happened to work in the management team. So when I was the first job as a mother 4 months ago, working out of the home, and I loved it. So that brought up questions of, wow, is this the path I still want to be on? Do I still want to homeschool? Do I want to just embrace this world of, working, financially providing for my family? I could see how I could provide so much easier if I could work full time. So that was a few weeks of soul searching and really re-looking at where my passions lie. But very quickly, that along with conversations, so you spoke about conversations, along with conversations with the children, just to see, where are you sitting? Are we still on the path that you love? Would you consider wanting to go to school? I will say we had one little person that said yes, she wanted to go to school, the youngest one. She's so bold. And I think it was from a perspective of, yeah, sure, I love new things, let's go try it. But yeah, the overwhelming decision was no, we like the path that our family are on, and I can juggle both. And I just take the joy when I can of that world. So I have now embraced the joy of both worlds, that I get the adult world and I also still get to have the mum world.
That's great. I actually want to know what Julie thinks about that as well. And also we want to come back in a moment to you, Taryn, because you'll be representing a few mums here online as well. And I know you're not homeschooling yet, but thinking about it and doing your research, and good on you and bless you. Your son is very, very fortunate to have somebody investigating the whole picture. Money is part of wanting to help our family feel safe in this transition as well. Let's feel safe. And what's our plan? So not only how am I going to do this with the learning, how are we going to do this, with my time and potential earnings? So I think, Deb, both the joy you had at the dance studio was, that was with adults, but it was still homeschool mums, but it was you didn't even realize that you needed that because you were getting that as part of that process. But what would it be like different, not homeschooling parents and things out there? And the sparklers, dancing with, when we danced with the older mums in the sparklers, I think that was our outlet then as well. Yeah, so it's important to have hobbies if you can get those as well, and weave them in as well. Definitely we'll come back to the dance studio component as an option, because some educators are listening to this, so some teachers wanting to transition and do something else, and to see, well, what is possible? What can we set up? What studios, what art studios, what online studios, what can we set up that might have a face-to-face component and an online component as well? What is possible? Cara was saying, she's got certain skills, and how can I then transfer that online? How can I do, teach others what I know, other mums, other students? I've taught my kids on how to research. How can I teach kids how to research? And is there even a platform that I don't have to set up? What else can I do? So we've got news about that. So keep following us as well. If you've got skills, if you've got real drive to set up your own learning hub. I know Sarah Hockley, she's just been messaging me, have you got that call? Because we're at a different time this week. She was a real instigator where last Saturday she rang me. She's an old client and friend of mine as well, kids in school. And she rang me and said, hi, can you do a webinar? I don't think she even said hello, which is usually what I do when I'm excited about something. I don't say hello. My friends will testify to that. So she said, can you run a webinar? Everybody's, needs some help up here. So hence the 90-minute webinar. webinars were born, and we're going to do a short snippet ones as well. So just a shout out, Sarah, if you make it or listen to the recording, this is for you, and the community loves you for it as well. Oh, she's there in the waiting room. Oh my goodness. There you go. There she is. Let's give her a clap. On the reactions, we can do a little clap. Welcome her in. Sarah, we're all clapping and welcoming you in, because I just gave you a shout out for being the main lady who's got these webinars going as a traditional school mum wanting changes. So we're very, very grateful for that, to bring the panels here together. So Sarah from the Hockley family, we've got on the panel, we've got Cara from New South Wales, we've heard about, who's studied and worked in the health industry and shared her joy there of earning and the conversation she's had. Deb, you can listen back on the replay as well, amazing things that she's doing, working in a boutique and dance studio. And now we're still yet to hear from Julie. She was busy working and came in a little bit late. And yeah, thank you very, very much for doing whatever you needed to do, Julie, to get here, to be of service for the community. It was a big feat. So you share with us about your family, incredible journey, and how you've earned money in the past and earn money now as well.
Oh gosh, I'm not even sure where to start, but in a nutshell, I've got 8 children, and my first 2 were born in London. I'm not tertiary educated, but I did have a pretty good position in London with a national, very well known company, and I was PA to the president for that company. So I did a lot of traveling through Australasia and Europe from London. Somehow managed to have 2 children who both went to nannies from 6 weeks of age, while I travelled and worked full time. And that lasted for about 2 years. And I decided, I knew that we would have more children, but I didn't want to bring them up this way. So we made the move back to Australia, and we had more children. In fact, we had 8 children. And through that time, I worked part-time at a 24-hour medical centre on reception. And I would high five, the older children were at school, I would high five with my husband in the afternoon in the driveway, and he would take over for the evening, and I would do the night shift at the medical centre. And that was life. And the harder we worked, the more money we spent, we had more children, and we just got in this cycle that I didn't want to be in. Then we had child number 1, who was 12. Long story short, became anorexic and in a private school, and spent 6 months in hospital. We changed schools 3 times, and the same thing happened. So I then decided that school was not for him. And I brought him home, knew nothing about homeschooling. And so he homeschooled from year 8 through to year 12. And he is just about to graduate next month with his PhD in mathematics and astrophysics. So that was my first success story. The others still remained at school. I didn't really realise that there was a homeschooling option. It was just because he wasn't well that we homeschooled. But then child number 5 came along, and child number 5 got brain cancer at the age of 6 weeks old. And we spent 12 months in hospital. And at that time, we had 4 children in 4 different educational institutions, and I was spending 24 hours at hospital. So I couldn't get these kids to school. And I knew that child number 5 was never going to attend a normal school, for want of a better word. So I decided we all needed to homeschool. And that's how we started. And I thought the world just go.
Julie,
they had 3 years ago.
just hang on a sec. Is everybody hearing Julie? I've just lost her a little bit. Pardon? We've just lost you on the connection just a little bit.
Okay. So I now.
Yeah, maybe
got me now.
Yeah,
got me now.
if it gets too bad, everybody, we'll just turn our videos
Just let me know.
and leave Julie on. So it might be competing for bandwidth. So we'll just take our videos off.
Okay. Sure. So 4 children at uni and on their own feet, and 4 children remaining. And then 3 years ago, I became a single parent by choice with the 4 remaining children. While I was at home and not working and homeschooling, I had obviously my husband's income, and that's how we survived. I then took the leap to become a single parent, and I've never looked back. So it's now just the boys and I, and I'm responsible for all of them financially as well. And I had to do something to keep us afloat. And I didn't know what. And initially I thought, I've got no skills. I haven't worked for 15 years, apart from doing ironing for customers, which was something that I could do in the middle of the night when the kids are asleep, and leave hospital and come home and do that. But I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life. And I sat down and had to have a really good think about what I could do, and what my passion was. And I talked to Heidi and I talked to lots of other people, and I discovered what my passion was, and I discovered what I knew and what I knew best. And I now have my little independent business working on with some customers prior to coming here. And that is now my lifeline and growing. And that has allowed me to take the kids camping. We've bought a camper trailer, fully kitted out. We're going to do the dinosaur trail and lots of trips, and I can work remotely. And life's good. And I have, Heidi, I haven't told you this, I've just put in my application for part-time tertiary study to become a midwife for next year. So now that I've got my income rolling along, I'm going to take some time out and do part-time study, I hope, if I get in to be a midwife in 6 years at the age of 53. So yeah, that's in a nutshell. Does that help?
Oh, enormously. Thank you so much, Julia. Congratulations on your choice to go into that midwifery, your passion. Oh, very, very good. Thank you so much for sharing. And what I want to point out there is, I think the other mum, it's really important to all of us here, but you articulated it in your story, in that even the 4 kids, was it 4 or 5 then, were going to different institutions. So you would have looked at their school, looked at the child, you need to go there, sporty, well, you need to go there, you need to go there. So you're already matching the child with their learning as best you could, and also what you thought was normal, where I went to a private school, and all of that. So yeah, why not?
With 7 boys, both my husband and I were privately educated. 2 straight lines, short haircuts, ties and blazers, and that's how our 7 boys were going to be. And I didn't think it was any different. And I remember one day going to the school, and there was 2 or 3 of them there, and every child looked the same. And even to the point where their bags were put on a particular way on the port rack, and their hats had to face the right way. And my child just wanted to draw. He didn't want to do other things. He wanted to draw. And he was a runner. He was sporty, and that's our anorexic one. And he was pushed very much in that, but also not allowed to do his passion of drawing. Art was only for half an hour 1 week. And I thought, well, this isn't right. He wants to do others, to learn in ways. And when I pulled the children out, when we decided to home educate them all, at the time, I thought all my children were the same. They're from the same mold. We all did exactly the same thing. We got up at the same time. We all yelled at each other to get ready for school and hurry up and jump in the car and everything else. We came home and we all did our homework, and we started the day again. And I realised after homeschooling that I didn't really know my children at all. They were all so very different, and they all have so very different passions, and that's what they follow, and they taught me to follow mine. And if it's your passion, it's so much easier to learn, and you're good at it and you enjoy it. So they've taught me to follow my passion by allowing them to do what they want to do within reason.
Wow. Well, within reason, you've had all sorts of animals in your house as well, and cages and
Oh yes. Oh yes. So we have one that wants to be an entomologist, and so his like insects, and we have stick insects breeding and burrowing cockroaches and ant farms and also do, and that's his passion, and that's what he wants to do. So that's what
yeah, and you so beautifully hold the space for him. So Julie, what may, and I may be imagining this, and but maybe it may press a button with a new homeschool mum or somebody looking at homeschool, when you share so vulnerably that I didn't know my kids, you know, they were mine. I gave birth to 8 of them. Had at home, the other one's well on their way doing
absolutely,
and I didn't know them. And so what is that? How do you let a mum know that has her kids at school that she may not know them, and that's actually okay? You've got a chance now, you've got an opportunity, and you know, no one knows you like you do yourself and your kids do themselves, and so allow them to teach you more and listen. Like what were the tips? Firstly, what you'd give that mum now that has just heard that, holy, I thought I'd just looking at registering a child and give me the paperwork and I'll fill it in, you know. And I love how you changed the language when I pulled them out of school. You took it, so, well, we chose to do that. We chose to make that transition, and you can always choose again as well. So I might just think, you know, you're just filling in paper, but there's this, you know, do I know my kids?
Yeah, I guess with so many of them, and I'm sure Deb could testify to that as well. I mean, when you've got a large family, it is busy, and we just got caught up in, I think, what society expected of us, for at least one parent to be working and all the children to be at school and in all these activities, one after the other, and you know, we just became that normal. And it just didn't feel right to me. And I quickly learned how much more engaging you can be, or more engaging child, when they're learning about something that they really love to learn about, or indeed don't even realize they're learning. I call our homeschooling life learning. So I teach my children to live life. I teach them so they can be independent and get through life, and whatever they want to do with that, or where they want to expand upon that, is up to them. So I don't think my children would have done what they have done and are doing without the time to explore what their interests and their likes and dislikes are. And mine are so very different. And that's fine. It's what they want to do. So I have the first one has done her degree, and she's the first one girl out of 7 boys. And quite ironically, she is in December graduating as a Lieutenant Army officer after doing her degree. Out of 7 boys, was her passion. The next one's doing law. The next one's doing nursing. And I suspect, our next one along then is our insect man, and one of them's interested in hairdressing. and one's a little performer. So they're all really different, and they can expand upon those differences on what they want to do. So I think, yeah, had we been at school, and not saying that that's a bad thing, but they were pigeonholed. My daughter, who's about to graduate as a lieutenant officer with a dual degree, had always wanted to do medicine. And I think that was because she was pigeonholed at school when she was there, and you did law, engineering, or medicine. And she soon discovered that she really didn't want to do medicine. And to be fair, I don't think she would have made a very good doctor. So yeah, I think you just have to make the leap. You can procrastinate about it. And I figured, well, I'm just going to make the leap, and we're all going to homeschool. And if it doesn't work, what's the worst that happens? They go back to school. And in the meantime, they've learned valuable life skills.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Julie. Awesome life skills in all of that as well. And the common denominator, I think it's actually the same in Deb's family. They're all different, but a common denominator is camping. You know?
Actually, you can thank Deb for that, because I thought,
no idea.
Yeah, I sought some advice from Deb on what to do and how we went about it. We spent quite some time on the phone. So Deb, you actually changed our lives. We're out again on Friday, COVID committing. So, and because we're homeschooling, we don't have to do it during school holidays and when everyone else is. So we have places to ourselves. So we're off to a deer farm for a week, and we're doing a beekeeping course and all sorts of things while we're there. So yeah, Deb, you did that for us. You inspired me with that.
And I had no idea when I invited you both to the call, and I think Kara's family loves camping as well. Oh my goodness.
I think with homeschooling, it sort of draws those people together. I've actually never met Deb.
No.
But I think Roz put me on to you, Deb, for some advice, and it sort of went for there. And I must say, it's a little bit off topic, but to do with homeschooling for the other parents. I don't know I'm not a maths person. I barely passed my senior maths, and yet my son is a mathematician. I couldn't teach him, but because it was what he wanted to do and he was passionate, I found the resources, and the homeschooling community is amazing. All you need to do is put the word out, and you can guarantee someone somewhere will know somebody that has the resources or can point you in the direction of those resources to help that child. Never, ever have I hit a brick wall with anything, with any of the children's activities or passions or what they've wanted to do. And homeschoolers are very open, generally, I've found, to helping others.
Wow, absolutely. Thank you so much. And that's it's like a little celebration here too, where a reunion almost, like Julie and Deb meeting. So that's fantastic. That is one of the things that come up in the, we heard a lot of questions about earning. And then when we did a poll on what your concerns are, it came up that the confidence still to do it, or where to start, that was still coming up as a major. But I think even by using this conversation, where we had a lot of the chat, even though it didn't come up as high in the poll, there were a lot of questions on this, on our site and other sites, about the income side of it and feeling safe as a family with the income side. It's definitely not off topic, you know, to feel confident, to do all of it, to do all of it, to show up in the as earning. Also, that community that you're talking about now, that whole community might be thinking about, oh, I had that skill and I could help Julie, or I could help Deb, I could help Kara, Nadja, Linda, you know, our lovely lady. There was another lady online, and I'm not sure if she's left now, and I hope she wasn't a bit afraid, because I said I was going to maybe call on her if she wanted to speak. But if you're still listening, I think it was Taryn, if she's still listening, she could ask more questions as well. But those feeling confident to actually take that stand, definitely not off topic. So if you've got the skills now that you used to help each other, maybe there's a platform, like we've got a platform that you can ask about us. So under the chat of the video recording that you see, if you want to know more about a platform where you can potentially load up your skills, and then we'll have another webinar just for that, If you've got skills and you want to do a class and actually be paid as a teacher to put those things up on a classroom platform, let us know. Put something below wherever you see this video, and it will be shared a lot. So put that below, and or reach out to us at Home Education Inspired Learning and Earning, and we'll help you out. Discovery calls are also a great idea too, to book in with me for a discovery call, and we can actually tailor make a situation for you. And a solution for you, planned by you. It's all about you guys. Who else did I want? What else did I want to bring up there? Definitely the passions. Won't that be wonderful when people have young children and then they're not thinking about just state school or private school, or Montessori or Steiner or whatever. They're actually saying home education. Why don't we put a little hub or, unit together, or a dance school? Why don't we put a dance school together and we all come together in that one section? We still got community, and our kids are doing what they want to do. I think the Hockley family have got a community that they want to get together, where they're learning more about nature and the environment, and really about those life skills, that life education. And amongst them, I'm sure we'll find the drawers, the entomologists, the dancers. Will find people among them all to carry on the next generation. Your business, as you said, got you the camper van and everything, so it's substantial. Some people might think, when you say substantial, none of us are not substantial or substantial. It's always substantial when you're earning money and spending money in line with your values. I worked as a lead coach in a financial education company back in 2004, when I had my eldest in my arms as well. I hired the lady from the daycare centre to come in with me on Fridays to be with me, so we could go to the back room and nurse without expressing those times. When the second one came along, we weren't going to do the same thing. But in that role as financial education coach, it was almost, we always said that the budgeting component was actually the least reason what we were doing for people. We were actually helping them to connect to what they value, what their passions, what their purpose is, and therefore, how am I going to earn money and spend money? That responsibility we have in how we earn money and spend money on the planet at the moment. So always. And that brings much more joy and ease into the family. So your business is definitely with regard to the joy of cooking and looking after the environment and preventing waste. Since I've met you, I'm thinking about all these tomato jars that I'm buying, and I'm going to get rid of. They don't recycle glass anymore in our council. What do I do with it? And I went, I know what Julie would do.
Yeah.
Organic tomato in her Thermomix,
Absolutely.
I had to dash out in my car.
Absolutely.
Getting caster sugar for our homeschool, for a online little thing where they were doing, what were they doing? Not brownies. What were they? I don't know. What are those sugary? What were we making? The sugar meringues? Meringues. That's the word. German mum and a Dutch dad. I sometimes can't think of the word. So you would have just made your own caster sugar. So reach out to Julie if she can help you in getting to a consultant near you. Become a consultant yourself, or in fact, Julie will help out as a consultant directly to you. So fantastic.
Heidi, if I can just jump in for 1 second, I just had a thought along that line. So our situation, which I haven't sort of revealed previously, is that we had houses previously. We'd bought houses or we'd rented houses. Then we moved to New Zealand. We had a really big house there. It meant that I was just going to work just to pay for the house. And we're in a situation, this is when we just started home educating, but we were in a situation where our bank account would be in debit in the morning and then it would get paid off in the afternoon. So thankfully we didn't get fees for that because it was within a certain period of time, but we didn't make enough per week to really even pay the bills. I was actually really sick at the time and I had to go into work and keep working regardless. And I ended up being really, really sick for about 4 years. But in all of that, when we came back to Australia and we decided that we were coming back, because we're both not from New Zealand, but we went there for work, we chose, instead of buying a house, we actually chose to buy a caravan and a truck, like a small truck that we could go around Australia in. So currently we're actually in a caravan park, and we have been stationary for some period of time just because I've been at uni and still am due to finish the end of this year. But we did that on purpose so that then there was less overheads that we needed to pay for as well. And then that meant that we could spend money on things like going away for a weekend. Like sometimes like we'd treat ourselves and stay in a house or like a resort or something like that. So we'd spend a little bit more on accommodation than what we would have if we were living full-time in a house. So we've been in our sort of 23-foot caravan for about 5 years now, since the end of 2015, thereabouts, maybe a bit longer, almost coming up to 6 years. But then that meant that obviously pre-COVID, we could go to zoos, we could have, what are they called, like yearly passes to museums. We went to Dubbo, we went to the 50th anniversary of the moon landing, and we sat in a paddock and watched the movie The Dish, Under the Dish, which was actually really cool. And the mayor came out and did a little speech, plus also the mayor from the movie, the actor, I can't remember his name, he came out and did a little speech as well. And Sam Neill was supposed to be there, but he got confused and rocked up the weekend before. But yeah, so we've done all that sort of thing. And we could do that more so because we chose different living situation than, you know, buying a really big house and having a really big house of which we were paying lots of overheads for and things like that. So that's, and where we are at the moment, it's got a swimming pool as well. So the kids are swimming 24/7 when it's in summer, almost 24/7. And there's usually people who go through the park as well. So previously, pre-COVID, there was quite a lot of international people coming through. So the kids would actually, I would hear them in the pool because we are right next to the pool. And I would hear them telling people from the UK or Ireland or Netherlands all about Australian animals and which ones to stay away from, and teaching them Aussie slang and, you know, all that sort of stuff, more along the lines of sort of, you know, your socialisation and that sort of aspect. So it sort of goes both together with socialisation plus being in a better financial position than if we had have both been, if we had have had the family living in a house with huge amounts of overheads.
I am so glad you spoke up about that, Cara. Thank you, because that was like living, earning and learning, earning and spending money in line with your values. Definitely. My question there is, your children would have been 6 and 11 or 12 when you made this transition. How were they? Did you make it like a big excitement thing that we are doing this to live in line with our values? You know, it is part of your journey. You know, how did you do it? Like how did you talk to your children about making such an important change and where you were heading as a family?
Yeah, okay. So the original plan, which plans change all the time, when we first got back, basically it was, let's be in the caravan so then we can travel around Australia and I can do temping work, either short term or turn it into long term, because I make more of a wage than my husband does. And so, yeah, we sort of looked at it, that sort of aspect of, we're going to have this full-time holiday, basically. now things changed a little bit because the industry had changed while we had been over in New Zealand quite a bit, and so I needed to go back to university to upskill. And so, yeah, then that sort of brings other challenges. But I think we really needed to be in this area to make the connections with people that we have made. And yeah, whether, you know, there are seasons in our lives, and it's not to say that, you know, schooling mainstream is going to be the constant season, or homeschooling is going to be the constant season, or what your profession or what you think your skills are that you can bring is going to be that constant season as well, because we know the world is changing, and a lot of things we may need to do online and things like that, which has been evident the last 18 months. So I think just being open to creativity and thinking outside the box, so then we can rise to those challenges as they come, and then maneuver our family through different obstacles. And even just so you got the phone call from Sarah, and then you messaged me, and then we've been chatting quite extensively on the phone for sometimes hours at a time, and we've almost been finishing each other's sentences where we think about different things, or you've asked me specific questions, and some of those questions have been really big questions where it's been like the elephant in the room, you know, the ability to not use my degree potentially, because of everything going on at the moment. That's been really hard to actually address, because it's like, I've worked really hard for this. But that's where we need to think outside the box, and that's where we need to have more people being creative and yeah, just having that different direction and go, okay, things are different, let's move in another direction. And it's not to say that it's going to be bad. It could actually just be something that was always supposed to be, but you never thought it was an option.
Wow, we got to put that quote on the page. Yeah, never. It was always supposed to be, yet never thought it was an option.
Yeah,
we were present until same thing happened for Deb, same thing happened for Julie. It's happening for us all. Never thought that some of the decisions that we'll need to make would need to have been made. I say it often to my clients, to our community, to whoever I can, to my children. Your choices, your decisions create your freedom. And Cara, mums considering what they're doing with their families right now, every moment we have a choice to make a decision. Make a decision, make a choice to determine our freedom for ourselves and our family. And teach your children that. I mean, really, as a life coach, when I learned to be a life coach, 30 years ago, it was always be above the line or below the line, you know, take responsibility for yourself. But once I heard it in those words, your choices, your decisions create your freedom, like that's like never thought that decisions needed to be made, but it was always the way it was meant to be. What if what's happening right now was meant to get us to the decisions that we're making right now? What if? I think I said that last week too. Let's ask more what if questions. So the other thing that goes with that though, actually first on that, Cara, you can choose to use your degree if you want to. You can choose, you can make that decision, but that's not in line with your values, just the way you earn an income, your family does, how you teach your children, not in line with your values. So you're sticking and showing that as number one. Let's live in line with what's important to make us. And that's why you can go through, and I say, you know, there's tricky things that happen. People think I'm a bit of a Pollyanna, that, you know, all this crisis might be happening, you know, and or we've got individual things happening in our own life. And yet you're saying that you can go through it with ease and joy. Well, eventually, yes. Like you just start where you are, walk where your feet are and go, well, what will give me a little bit more ease? Okay, well, let's start a Facebook page just to hold the space for these people. Let's give them a little bit more ease that way. They won't be a joy and ease now straight away. You know, maybe, depends on what you choose. You know, but let's just go one step. And that's what we want to do as goosebumps all the way through this session. Just to hold the space for you until you can connect to you again and, you know, take your little tribe, your family and whatever that looks like and keep moving. The other part of that is that some things aren't very impressive in life. And both of these quotes, this one particular, I give to Ken, a gentleman that has a independent learning center in the US, North Star. And we love that model. And because we love that model and the model where that sort of model is around very similar to where Josh, my youngest, goes. And so we started, Linda's online, very incognito there. She's probably saying, hurry up a little bit, Heidi. It's only 15 more minutes, Linda. She's in the US, so it's late at night there. She is the business partner with me, co-founder with Changemaker Teens, and been a blessing how we found each other. But when go back to Ken, he told us that some things are tricky. Some things, well, I knew that already. We all know that as mums, that some things are tricky. But she said, some things, teach your children that some things aren't very impressive, but they're 100% useful. So, you know, he wants to be an entomologist and might need to learn a certain sort of chemistry. Not very impressive, doesn't like that sort of it. Likes more this sort of the biology part. But in order to get to where he needs to go, he needs to learn this. So some things, your choices, your decisions create your freedom. So yes, this is my passion. This is what I want to do. But some things aren't very impressive, but they're 100% useful. And that's some of the conversations that we have to have right now. And the big, you know, and we can do that in an appropriate way. Like, okay, we've got to, if you've got any tricky bits that you can't work through by just putting your feet, you know, just walking where your feet are, reach out for a discovery call and we'll see how we can help you that way. Or reach out to one of Cara, Julie, Deb, even, you know, people that are looking out for the people in transition at the moment, the, you know, Sarahs of the world. Just, let's take a breath. Yeah, so there's something in the chat there. There's a few chats. Is there? What do I see? Nadja says, move one grain of sand at a time, like ants build a city. Absolutely. Nadja's been following what we've been doing since the Homeschool Summit last year. Actually, I'll pop that in we met last year at the Australian Homeschool Summit. I'll put that underneath this video as well. I'll put the links to, because there's some amazing mothers that spoke at the Homeschool Summit last year and this year. I spoke with, it's been going for a few years, but this year, Amanda Bartel, that was a guest last week, and Patricia, who will be a guest, and who else spoke last week? Cara, who spoke last week? Cara spoke, Amanda Bartel, and Lucy. Lucy, she was a beautiful woman. She spoke at the conferences as well. So we'll put the Homeschool Summit link under here as well, and you'll get some valuable information for new homeschoolers, especially this year as well. But all years there's new information. Okay. Thank you, Nadja. Look at you. You're my little VA there. Yeah, no, you're very, very helpful. Thank you so much, Nadja. Very, very good. And beautiful girls she's got. All right. So we've got 11 minutes. Sarah, would you mind speaking about what's happening? No, how can I word this appropriately? What else do you think, what are you hearing from yourself and other friends, and what more can we do for them on a recording that they listen to about learning and earning with homeschool? What are you hearing out there? What do they want to know? Or if there's another big question.
Can you hear me? Hi. I probably need more time to have a think about that. I spent the weekend riding motorbikes with the kids and was hearing different things from different parents, and a lot of the consensus on Sunday was more around the what ifs, the uncertainty, and what's not known in order to move forward. So a lot of families are just now looking at the possibility that, depending on situations that might happen within state or private schools, if those things happen, then they will need to be looking at homeschooling. But all the talk around homeschooling, because these fears initially came up, have now got some parents thinking, I might be looking at homeschooling regardless. And how does that fit? And when does that work? And how can I make that work? So for Glenn and I, we were looking at, similar to what was said before, Cara, how could we even be, mortgage free, have a property where we can homeschool and focus on doing that with maybe earning less of an income, so we're more available for our children. And it's just all those thoughts and different things that we're processing at the moment to try and work out what will that look like in the future. So I guess there's a lot of uncertainty, and it's difficult to know. It's all exploring different avenues, I think, at the moment, and different possibilities, and even what else can I do? So I spoke to Glenn. I'm studying family dispute resolution at the moment, and for me, that was going to be what I would do so that my children could go to school. I would be available mornings and afternoons. And now it's like, I may not be available mornings and afternoons. I may need to be available for the children through the day to get them to where they need to be. And that might not be the best avenue for me. So what else can we do? So, even the things that you currently thought you might be able to make work, with everything so unknown, you might need to explore other things. Or, I also did business. Could I work and teach maybe teenagers within a business avenue? I'm very good with entrepreneurs, and what are you good at, and what are your gifts, and let's work with that. There's just so much going on, Heidi. It's hard to answer, and I'm sorry I sound so uncertain, but this is truly how I'm feeling.
You spoke exactly the way you were meant to speak, Sarah. I like, that uncertainty is one, the 6 human needs. Yeah, I've heard that. Uncertainty is actually something we need, and maybe we needed that shakeup. So if we can just accept that and then move on, and not keep saying, in order to think out of the box, we can't keep on saying things are uncertain, things are uncertain, things are uncertain. We need to change our language. This is where this page and our approach is the coach approach. Like Julie knows me, Deb knows me, Sarah, like you'll know me by now. And that's why I get that Pollyanna, what did we talk about before, Cara? that there was something coming up on the site that we were actually going to leave off. And we're just in that, we haven't finalized, but we're in mid-conversation whether we should even allow it on, because it may make some people anxious. But what about how we deliver it? Does it have to be anxious? Because, Linda will support me with this as well, that we're welcome where things are at. We've had, potential, what's happening with Linda's child, teenager. If it wasn't for alternatives, maybe one of her daughters wouldn't be on the planet anymore. Julie, it wasn't for alternatives, with your son. So sometimes things are uncertain, and we've got to accept that. When it comes to life and death, you can't focus on the uncertain. We've got to decide what is satisfying here. What is certain? What is certain? Okay, we are a family, and I want the best for my family. We value this, this, and this. I can do this. Okay, family mediation. Maybe I actually needed that for my own, I don't know, maybe you can help homeschool families when there's this, you can add some advice when mums are trying to talk to their partners right now. What words would you give them, you know, when they've got their map of the world, or their kids with short hair and suits and everything? And I think that was more for Julie, that your husband was more, let's keep them in school. All I know is suits and ties and what if, but you decided to give it a go. So maybe, you know, and there's lots deeper things that you would deal with family conflict about, I'm sure, what you've learned about Sarah, and I don't mean to make it superficial in any stage, you know, or there's some big things that you can help families with right now, and spruiking the words that's good. I hear that you're uncertain, you know, that I think I've taught you this, Sarah, for sure, that you accept that communication as a tennis ball, accept it, but don't agree with it anymore, because you know in each of your friends there is something certain, and that's the love for their families, if nothing else. And that certainty might keep them in school, but with a different attitude, with a different approach, because that's right for them, but they'll find ease and joy in that and work with that. We're not saying, come on, we're a cult, come to homeschooling. No, it's got to be right for the family. Come on, the certainty. So accept what people are saying, like that. I say a tennis ball, look at their communication like a ball, accept it, but put it in the bin beside you. Don't agree with it, because you know who they are. So in my word to say, well, how would God look at that person? You know, when I feel uncertain, how would God look at me? And he'd know that I've got a solution. So that's my language and my belief, you know, whatever that is, you know that people have got innate strength. Come on, Aussie, 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 you know, all of that. Sorry, Linda. You know, we're global, sorry. We've all got it. We've all got that spirit. So 1:20:26, to find out bring to the community what you know and not what you don't know. And if what you're saying you know makes you feel unsettled, flip it. How can we use that to make us feel better? Because it's a gift. It's a gift. And I have no embarrassment, no shame or anything to talk like this, you know, whatever. I don't care. Thank you.
And Heidi, I think it's okay for people to believe that you can step out of your comfort zone. And we all work differently as homeschooling families, but do what's right for you and for your family. And it's not all roses. There are times when my children will see me curled up in the fetal position with the door locked and the walk-in wardrobe. You know, some days I think, what am I doing? And then you just get a light bulb moment and you think, this is exactly why we're doing what we're doing. You know, it's not perfect, but in today's society, it's different, and it's okay to be different. And claim your own differences. You know, the way I operate, Heidi, is different to Deb, or, you know, different to Cara, but we all still have that underlying common denominator of homeschooling our children in whatever way we do it. It doesn't have to be the same as everybody else. Do what's right for you and for your family.
Amen. That's a good conclusion. Deb, did you want to wrap it up as well? That was great, Julie. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. It's been an absolute delight to see you in person and have our first.
We still have to have that cup of coffee.
We do. Look, just again, I'll end it with say, be bold, be brave. Anything is possible if you're committed. I was made a comment on an online forum about this topic, and I've never lived in a place of excuses. My kids know excuses don't exist in our world, because an excuse is just there's always a way around something. Yes, it may be hard and you may not get to the end goal instantly, but you, again, taking one step at a time. So take away the excuses. There are no excuses. I was going to find a way to financially provide for my kids. However that looked, it involves hard work, but you can do it. Everyone can do it if you take away the excuse and you just put one foot in front of the other.
Thank you. Thank you, Deb. Any more comments we'll put underneath the YouTube clip. And I want to respect everyone's time. We're finishing in 1 minute. So anyone want to use the last minute, or do we end it here and say goodbye?
Just, yeah, something super quick, just to wrap up everything as well. I think if it's hard, if something's hard, just evaluate what's not working and then just look to see of ways that can work. And then there are hard days with home educating, but it's okay to have days off as well. If you don't want to learn all the time, every day, every moment of the day, adults need time off, kids need time off too. So just sit down and watch a documentary, or just have family time instead, have a few days off, sometimes even a week if you need it, and then you'll be refreshed to then keep on learning.
Beautiful. All right. How do we end this? We've only done one, but this is going to be traditional. Onwards with ease, everyone. Onwards with ease.